Sandile, bhengu, a name that once instilled fear in the hearts of Durban residents. South Africa's most feared gang leader built a criminal empire through intelligence, strategy, and ruthless violence. With blood on his hands and power in his grasp, he became a legend in the streets of KwaZulu-Natal. Born in Durban, Bhengu, unlike many who turned to crime out of desperation or lack of education, was highly intelligent and well-schooled. He attended Chillie High School, where teachers and fellow students knew him for his sharp mind and confident demeanor. He even studied at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, showing academic potential that could have led him down a very different path. But the streets called to him, and he answered. Despite his education, he built connections with criminals in Umlazi and other dangerous townships. Over time, his name became both feared and respected. He was muscle. He was a thinker, a planner, someone who saw the bigger picture. He was not your average thug, never acted like one. His gang operated with purpose, specializing in extortion, robberies, and violent takeovers of businesses. Shop owners and taxi drivers across Durban paid protection money or faced deadly consequences. In township neighborhoods, people spoke his name in whispers, afraid that even mentioning chillie too loudly might bring his attention their way. His power reached beyond the criminal underworld. Many believed he had connections with corrupt officials who protected him from arrest. Each time police tried to capture him, he somehow knew when to disappear. His intelligence kept him one step ahead of law enforcement for years. But just as many feared him, many more admired him. Why, you might wonder? Because he protected the poor. He gave money to families in need and stood up against other predatory criminals. This complicated his image, making him both a terror and, to some, a twisted kind of hero. For years, the police struggled to build a case against him. Every attempt ended in failure. Witnesses went silent, evidence disappeared, and Bhengu remained free. But law enforcement knew they couldn't allow his empire to keep growing. They started building a case methodically, tracking his movements and gathering intelligence. Undercover officers infiltrated his operations, slowly collecting the information they needed. Bhengu, though intelligent, was still a criminal, and like most criminals, he grew arrogant. He believed himself untouchable, openly taunting police efforts to capture him. He made little effort to hide his criminal activities, convinced that his connections and tricks would keep him safe. This overconfidence would prove to be his undoing. As police pressure increased, more of Bhengu's gang members found themselves behind bars. Each arrest led to interrogations, and some began to talk. The net was closing, but Bhengu seemed blind to the danger. The police waited patiently, knowing his arrogance would eventually create an opportunity. In 2017, police intelligence finally got the break they needed. They tracked him to Chatsworth, Durban. What was meant to be a simple arrest quickly turned into something much more violent. When Bhengu and his men realized they were trapped, they chose to fight rather than surrender. The streets of Chatsworth became a war zone as gunshots echoed through the night. Police officers took cover behind vehicles and buildings as bullets flew past them. Bhengu, armed and dangerous, returned fire with deadly precision. The gunfight lasted several minutes, with neither side willing to back down. Eventually, the police gained the upper hand. Bhengu was hit multiple times and fell to the pavement. As the smoke cleared and officers moved in, it became clear South Africa's most feared gangster was dead. News of his death spread like wildfire across the country. Some celebrated, believing justice had finally been served. Others mourned, seeing him as a fallen hero who had stood up for the poor. The mixed reaction showed just how divided communities had become about the life he lived. His funeral became an event unlike any other, a show of power and defiance. Hundreds attended, including known criminals. His gang made sure everyone knew they were still in control, firing guns into the air in a display of rebellion. Police watched from a distance, ready to intervene if violence erupted. Before the ceremony ended, law enforcement moved in, arresting multiple suspects connected to planned revenge attacks. Some gang members tried to resist, but were quickly overpowered. The funeral became another battleground in the ongoing war between police and criminals. With Bhengu gone, his criminal organization fell into chaos. different factions fought to take control, leading to internal conflicts and betrayals. The violence spread throughout Durban as assassinations and revenge killings became common. The police took advantage of this division, making more arrests and further weakening the gang structure. The once feared gang started to crumble without its leader. Some members fled, fearing for their lives. Others tried to form new alliances, but none had his leadership skills or strategic thinking. The organization that once controlled large parts of Durban was falling apart. Sandile Bhengu was born in Umlazi, a township south of Durban steeped in socio-economic struggles, where survival often trumped ambition. From an early age, he showed a remarkable aptitude for academics, excelling particularly in mathematics and science, subjects that revealed his analytical mind. Yet, the financial strain on his family, his parents juggling low-paying jobs to make ends meet, pushed him toward choices beyond the classroom. At university, he initially balanced his studies with part-time work, but the meager earnings couldn't keep pace with rising costs. It was here that he crossed paths with older students dabbling in petty crime, offering him quick cash for small jobs like delivering packages. Hesitant at first, the promise of easy money gradually pulled him in, planting the seeds for his eventual descent into the criminal world. Bhengu's rise wasn't haphazard. He formed his gang with precision, recruiting restless young men from Umlazi who, like him, saw few paths out of poverty. His operations targeted not just the vulnerable, but the affluent too. Carjacking in wealthy suburbs became a signature move, executed with a chilling efficiency that spoke to his planning skills. He didn't shy away from violence, often leading negotiations himself and using force to ensure compliance, yet he drew lines. No harm to women or children, a rule he enforced strictly. Stories circulated of him stepping in to settle disputes or paying for a neighbor's hospital bill, acts that blurred the line between villain and savior in the eyes of some. The community's split perception of Bhengu mirrored South Africa's wider tensions. A shopkeeper once said anonymously, "Chillie kept other gangs away. Before him, we paid whoever showed up. With him, there was order, at a price." Contrast that with a grieving mother's words, "My boy died because of his wars. He brought death, not protection." This duality fueled debates that raged on social media and in township corners long after his death. His ability to evade capture wasn't just luck. He cultivated a web of informants, street kids, drivers, even low-level cops, who tipped him off to police movements. Stolen cars were stripped of trackers with a speed that baffled authorities, a testament to his logistical savvy. Yet, his reign wasn't eternal. The 2017 Chatsworth shootout wasn't a fluke, but the culmination of years of police persistence, undercover work, wiretaps, and turncoat informants finally pinning him down. When the bullets stopped, Bhengu lay dead, his mythos sealed in blood. What do you think makes young people with education and opportunities turn to a life of crime? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you're finding this coverage valuable, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Bhengu's death did not end crime in South Africa. New gangsters rose to power, each trying to claim his territory and reputation. The police continued their fight, but corruption within their ranks made progress difficult. Some officers remained on criminal payrolls, undermining legitimate efforts to combat gang activity. However, new anti-crime initiatives gave some hope to people affected. Local leaders stepped up, working to keep young people away from gangs through education and mentorship. Schools and community programs focused on providing alternatives to crime. These efforts faced an uphill battle, but showed promise in breaking the cycle of recruitment. Crime in Durban remained a constant challenge, always adapting to police tactics. Some wondered if another criminal mastermind like Bhengu would emerge from the shadows. His funeral wasn't just a goodbye, it was a statement. Mourners clogged the streets of Umlazi, some in tears, others in defiance, as gang members torched a stolen car in tribute, smoke curling into the sky. Police arrested 7 that day, linked to planned retaliatory strikes. But the message was clear. Bhengu's shadow loomed large. Years have passed since Bhengu's death, but his name still echoes in Durban streets. People share stories of his crimes, his intelligence, and his final moments. Some remember him as nothing more than a killer, while others paint him as a misunderstood genius. His influence shaped crime in Durban in ways that continue to affect the city today. New generations study his methods, hoping to repeat his success while avoiding his fate. But his life and death prove that no criminal, no matter how clever or connected, remains untouchable forever. His story continues to be told through whispers, news reports, and even music. Some argue he was pushed toward crime by circumstances beyond his control, a system that failed to reward his potential. Others point to his education as proof he chose that life because he wanted power on his terms. The truth likely contains elements of both views, a tangled mix of choice and constraint. What makes Bhengu's story so captivating is how it reflects larger issues in South African society. The wide gap between rich and poor, the limited opportunities for young people in many areas, the corruption that allows criminal enterprises to flourish. These problems created the conditions for Bhengu's rise, and they continue to fuel gang activity today. Why do educated youth like Bhengu turn to crime? It's a question with no simple answer. The promise of quick wealth can outweigh the slow grind of honest work, especially when jobs are scarce. In townships, violence is normalized, and role models are often the ones with money and muscle, not degrees. Bhengu's university days showed him a world he couldn't afford to join legally. Crime became his shortcut. Addressing this means tackling inequality head-on. Better schools, real job prospects, mentors who show kids they don't need a gun to matter. Programs exist, but they're underfunded, overstretched, fighting a tide of poverty and despair. Whether seen as a hero or a villain, Sandile Chillie, Bhengu's name will never be forgotten in the streets of Durban. His story is both a warning and reflection, a mirror showing South African society its deepest challenges and the urgent need to address them. What do you think should be done to address the root causes that lead educated youth like Bhengu toward crime? Join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that explore the complex realities of crime in South Africa. Your support helps us continue uncovering these stories that must be told. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video.